It is being given there. So we'll just wait for another, 2-3 minutes, that Dr. Bose will be joining. He just called me up and telling me he'll be just late by, few minutes. So by the time I think others are also joining. Hmm. Well, Dr. Emmanuel, could you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes. So could you join? Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I joined now.
Yesterday there was some issue, I think, from your end.
Yesterday also I was there, no? Full
Okay,
time.
okay, okay,
I
okay.
joined.
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Session is not yet started. We are just waiting for the resource person. He's just joining now. I spoke to him, the resource person. He'll be joining. Sorry for the delay. There was some issue at his end with the system. There are, sometimes some situations are out of my control. I hope all of you are already joined that WhatsApp link, WhatsApp group.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes. If anyone I
Yes.
left out, you can join from the link. Let me just check whether he has joined or not.
Hello, good afternoon, Dr. Sangeeta ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am,
Yes.
where is the link for joining the WhatsApp group?
Yeah. Did you get one mail which I sent last time?
Uh,
No,
Only
ma'am,
mail.
actually.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Then I will do
Is
one
it
thing.
possible to share now in the chat box?
Okay, just one second. Just one second. Let me share with you all. Where is it? So, 1 second. Absent. I think, this is the one I also shared, and some other friend of yours have also shared here. Okay, so I think Dr. Abhishek has already joined. Are you there, Dr. Abhishek? Can you hear me? We can't hear you. Dr. Abhishek? Yeah. Where you? Can't see. Something is wrong with his system, I think. Yes. Can you hear me, Dr. Abhishek?
Yes, ma'am. मेरे पास Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Abhishek Bose, our resource person. He has joined, but I don't know. I could not hear. Can you on your camera? Let me call him. Hello. Can you hear me? No, we can't hear. We can't hear you at all. No, I cannot see you. Your video is on, but I don't know. But then, can you say a few words? I cannot hear you. That is the only thing. Can anyone hear? Can anyone hear to Abhishek Bose?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
No,
Can't hear.
nobody is hearing. Sir. Can you hear what other people are saying? Hello?
Hello, Abhishek sir. Hello.
But we can't hear you. Can you say something? We can't hear you. Yeah, video. Can anybody see Abhishek Bose? Dr. Abhishek Bose? He's not audible also, and I cannot see.
No, ma'am, he is not audible and not visible to
Yeah,
you.
not visible, neither visible, not audible. Can you? Yeah.
He's visible, but we are not we are unable to hear his voice.
Now it's visible, but not able to hear. It seems. Can you say a few words? Hello. Yeah. What are you working from the laptop or? Okay, desktop. Okay. Is it because of the connectivity issue or? We can't hear you actually. That is the problem. We can't hear you. Please. I'll just ask the IT team. Omendro, are you there? Please. Okay. Oh, he has to rejoin. Then let's see whether. Hello, Omen. Phone number. Dr. Abhishek, can you say a few words? I have messaged you. I have messaged you.
Can you hear me now, ma'am?
Yes. Now I can see. Thank you so much. So once again, I welcome all participants and also resource person here. Sorry for the late, but sometimes this is the problem when we do online thing. So we have with us our resource person for today's session, the first session afternoon. We have with us Dr. Abhishek Bose. He's a faculty in the Department of Comparative Indian Language and Literature in the University of Calcutta. So Dr. Bose specializes in Bhakti movement and Chaitanya Vaishnavism, theater and performance studies, aesthetic and literary theory, narratology, cultural studies, and the folk popular East-West literary transactions. He has a number of publications in the journals and books in area of Indian knowledge system. So, may I now request Dr. Bose to take this session, and he will be speaking on the Indian knowledge system under that broad theme. So, may I now request Dr. Bose?
Very good afternoon to all of you. I thank this institute, this program, and especially Professor Sangitangam for having me in this session. And my apologies for this delay due to this unfortunate technical glitch. I am talking from my phone, so I have to curtail on some things that I had planned to show you. I had one PowerPoint presentation, but that is on my desktop and it's not working, so I'll have to bear with me without any visual aid. We are talking about Indian knowledge system, and at first, the very first, let me enunciate my position on this curious findings. I would like to stress on the Indian knowledge system, or we may rather call it systems, because there are so many systems of knowledge and thought in our beautiful country. So we'll be talking about a particular part of this, which is known as the Bhakti movement. Bhakti movement, which was pan-Indian phenomena, and we shouldn't say was, it still is current in circulation. And we'll be talking about that, and then we'll focus on a particular case of Bhakti, especially in Bengal, and then I take your leave. So, apologies again. Bhakti, as you are all aware, it comes from the word Bhaj, the root word Bhaj in Sanskrit. And curiously, it means many things, a plethora of meanings associated with the word Bhakti. It can mean, I am quoting from a dictionary entry of Bhakti. The first set of meaning is separation, partition, division. The second set of meanings is devotion, attachment, loyalty, faithfulness, etc. Then you can also extend it to reverence, service, worship, homage. But there are so many sets of meanings. It coming texture, arrangement, decoration, ornament, embellishment, being part of or belonging to, and so on. But usually, our inclination is when we are talking to an Anglophone word, we translate bhakti with the word devotion. But we have to remember that devotion is only a minuscule part of bhakti, the whole plethora of meanings, and there are so many other meanings. with that clarification, we now proceed to understand bhakti both as a phenomena and as a historical moment. So, we are talking about two separate but interconnected things. One is when we say bhakti, bhakti bhava, the emotion of bhakti, the feeling of bhakti, the practice of bhakti, then we are talking about roughly an emotive and experiential phenomenon. And this is connected with the rasa aesthetics which starts from Bharat. So that is the emotive experiential part. The second part, when in our history textbooks we have read about bhakti, we have studied bhakti, we have been taught about the historical movement called bhakti. And we can understand this thing as a social, cultural, religious, and also a political formation, which appears in a certain particular period of time at a particular place. When we talk about bhakti, then we remember the images of, say, someone like Kabir or Guru Nanak, Tulsidas, Tukaram, Shankardev, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Mirabai, uh, Bulle Shah. So many names, so many sons and sadhus, they appear in your mind. So here we are talking about a historical and spatial occurrence in a particular definite period of time. Kabir was based largely at Banaras, Kashi. Tulsidas was from somewhere else, but he settled at Kashi. Mirabai was from Rajputana. So we can locate these people. This has got a history, this part, the social, cultural, religious, and political formation called Bhakti. Now we have to understand very carefully that Bhakti as an experiential and emotive phenomena and Bhakti as a social, historical phenomena, these two are interconnected, but they are not identical. They are not identical. Why? I cannot show you, but I think many of you have seen this picture of 108 sons or monks of India when many sons and sadhus are placed together. It can have Adi Shankaracharya, starting from Adi Shankaracharya and Ramakrishna Paramahansa or Vivekananda. Everyone, even Buddha, Lord Buddha, Gautama Buddha, everyone is sitting together in the same picture frame. So this is a very curious case of bhakti syncretism when saints from different traditions, from different time periods, from different parts of India, they are imagined in a particular fashion when they can be put together in a single picture frame. Because this is about the historical part of bhakti, the historical social phenomena of bhakti. But see, you can discern some underlying connotations when all the bhakts or sadhus or sons, they become atemporal. They are not limited by the uh, linearity of time. They are being imagined in a circular fashion when time is timeless. So it's all the same, whether it's from the 10th century or from the 20th century, all the saints can be put together. This is atemporality, as it is called. Now, there is this sloka I'm going to talk about now. This comes from the Bhagavad Purana. As you are aware, there are 18 principal Puranas in the Puranic literary body, and there is this Da Purana, It's very important for especially the Vaishnavas of any order. It's called the Bhagavata Purana. So there is this uh, text attached to the Bhagavad Purana, which is called the Bhagavat Mahatmya. It appears elsewhere also in Skanda Purana, etc. But this text is called Bhagavat Mahatma because it contains the glories of Bhagavad Purana. In the Indian tradition, towards the beginning or towards the end of any text, any scripture, there is a Mahatma part. Generally, towards the end of the scripture, there is a part which is called the Mahatma, which says that if you read this text, if you listen to it, if you donate it to someone, then you will have this and this and these guns. You will have this punya, salvation, if you read or hear or donate it, distribute it. So there is also such a text attached to the end of the Bhagavad Mahatma, and there is a slope. The slope goes like this: Utpanna Dravide Samam Vriddhim Karnatake Gata Sthita Kinchin Maharashtre Gurjare Jirnatam Gata Vrindavanam Punah Prapya Naveen Eva Surupini Yataham Yuvati Samyak Prishtarupatu Sampratam. Now, we have to understand the setting of this slope. What is the setting? Narad Rishi, Narad Muni, he is the wandering sage, as you are aware. Narad Rishi is traveling this universe looking for bhakti. And he meets a lady who has got two sons. This lady is Bhakti Devi herself. So, if you are a student of literature, you will understand this is a personification of an internal emotion. This is called personification in literary terminology. So, Bhakti, the emotion, is being personified and projected as an external entity. This is Bhakti Devi, and she has got two sons with her. One is called Viveka, and the other son is Vairagya. Now, Narad asks, encountering Bhakti Devi, who are you? What are you doing here? Then Bhakti Devi answers Narad with this sloka. This sloka, if translated into English, it would mean that I was born in Dravida Desha. Now, if I could show you the PowerPoint, I could show you the map also. The wonderful map which has been created by teacher who is not anymore, Professor Shapon Majumdar. He compressed 1,000 years of Bhakti history into one single map of India. So I request you, as I cannot show you the picture, I will request you to imagine the map of India as we travel through its lands. Bhakti Devi is saying that Dravid Desh, towards the southern tip of India, I was born. Then I moved up. I grew up in Karnataka. Then, and at Karnataka, I earned respect. People were very respectful to me in Karnataka. And then I went to Maharashtra. So, southwest, Bhakti is moving on. Imagine the map from Dravid to Karnataka, then to Maharashtra. I went to Maharashtra. I was there for some time, and then I went to Gujarat. But I was not healthy anymore. I was getting frail. Gurjare jirnatam gata. I was getting very frail, very weak. when I was in Gujarat. Then I came back. So now imagine the map. Bhakti is moving up from Dravid to Karnataka to Maharashtra and Gujarat. Now she is coming back all the way to some place which is located uh, closely towards the center of India, central India, not central India. Vrindavanam Punaprapya, she says. So then I came back to Vrindavan and I became Naveen Eva Surupini. I became youthful again, vigorous again, and I became very beautiful. Here alone in Vrindavan, you can see the blissful, ecstatic dance of Yo, and by seeing that dance, I became resplendent in the form of a beautiful beloved, the beautiful beloved, blossoming in the prime of my youth. This is Bhakti's version of her journey. This is very interesting for any historian or any scholar of Bhakti because it gives us a historical geography, the map of Bhakti, and also an ideological or spiritual journey of Bhakti. So, the two parts of Bhakti, the experiential and emotive part, and the socio historical part, they are being intertwined in this narrative given by Bhakti Devi herself, personified in the Bhagavad Mahatmya. And it has interested scholars for many reasons. For many reasons, this is more true about the Vaishnava parts of Bhakti. That's sure. But it's also talking about the journey of Bhakti as a phenomena which has flooded the hills and seas of India. Now, if we can extend this narrative a little bit, then we'll see that from uh, the Vrindavan path where Bhakti Devi ends her narrative, from Vrindavan it travels to the north and then the eastern part of India to Bengal, from Bihar to Bengal to Assam and all the way to the northeast to Manipur. Also, please imagine the map. I am so sorry I cannot show you that. Would have just simplified my task here, but please use your imagination. Uh, Another strand of bhakti comes from the Dravid Desh and goes towards the southern eastern part of India. Bhakti Devi's narrative talks about the southern, west, and then north central part of India. We are adding two more strands from Vrindavan to Bihar, Bengal, Assam, Manipur. Another strand which is originating from Dravid Karnataka region and it's coming all the way up to the southern eastern part, which is Odisha, and then one strand from Odisha comes to Bengal again and Assam again. So the whole map of India, the Indian subcontinent, gets enjoyed by the travels of Bhakti. So when we are talking about Bhakti, we are also talking about the idea of India itself, Bharat itself. We can see that in a pre-colonial period, India, the idea of Bharat as a tangible, tactile uh, phenomena evolved through the travels of Bhakti. So, uh, am I legible? Is it making any meaning?
Yes, yes, please, please go ahead.
Okay, okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I cannot see any of you, and also I am not being able to take the help of the visual aids that I usually do. That's why.
Anyway, you can share that later on.
Yeah, yes, of course. So, this is about bhakti itself, which means separation, which means emotion, which means a particular way of being, but it's also about society. This is a curious dichotomy, a curious dichotomy. Uh, One very esteemed scholar of this field, Professor Shishir Kumar Das from the University of Delhi, he wrote one monograph on Bhakti Sants called The Mad Lover. The Mad Lover. The title of my today's discussion borrows its name from that title. My discussion is titled as The Lovers, the Lunatics. The Lovers and the Lunatics. So, why? Because all the Bhakts and Sants, be it Tulsidas, be it Kabir, be it Tukaram, be it Chaitanya, be it Shankardev, Namdev, Mirabai, Mahadevi Akka, Antal, anyone from the southern, northern, central, western, eastern, northeastern, any parts of India, Narsi Mehta in the west, everyone is talking about a relationship. Now, relationships, be even if it is with God or goddess, it cannot be asocial. It cannot be beyond the realms of societal relationships. That's why I'm saying that even as an emotive experiential phenomena, bhakti cannot remain outside the boundaries of society. We usually imagine the bhakt sants and sadhus as someone who is living in a hermitage, in densut, atop a hill, in a cave somewhere, doing his or her sadhana, the penance, etc., and attaining some kind of a liberation from this world and going to the other world, close to his god or goddess. But is it the entire story? I think no. There is another part which is very important and crucial for any bhakt or sant to become a bhakt or sant. Why? Because these people, they are talking about a relationship with gods or goddesses, but that is structured in the model of a very human, loving relationship. The ideal of a relationship is of the beloved and the lover. We can talk about any doha, any poem, any song, Meera ke Prabhu Girdhar Nagar, or Meera when says, मैं तो दर्द दीवानी मारो दर्द न जानो कोई. Meera is saying that. So she is actually talking about a very personal relationship. This is one important feature of bhakti. Now we are going to talk about the characteristics of bhakti. Bhakti as an experiential and emotive phenomenon. The first, what are the characteristics? The biggest, the most important, most crucial character of bhakti or a bhakt is it's talking about a paradigmatic shift from an omniscient, omnipotent God to the idea of an intimate, individual, personal God. In the institutionalized religious systems, what do we do? we are talking about, we are imagining a supreme Lord, a god or goddess. He or she can be nirakar, formless, or can be with swarup, with form, with murti, iconography, etc. But we are always talking about a God who is supreme powerful. We are talking about power, hierarchy. Because when we do something good, that God is going to reward us. And if we do commit something wrong, then that God will punish. So, this omniscient, omnipotent God, as generally imagined in institutionalized religions, it's all about judgment, the final day, the day of judgment, pap and punya, sin and salvation, etc., etc. But when the bhakts and sons, they are talking about their gods or goddesses, it can be Ram, Krishna, it can be Nirankar, formless, it can be any god or goddess, any idea of god or goddess, but with one criteria, that he does not punish and he does not give anything, any dole. He doesn't reward you either. That God is only there in your heart to have a relationship with you. And you are not trying to appease that angry and judgmental God. You are just behaving like a human being, like the kid next door. You are talking to that God, you are feeding him or her. You are talking sweet things, sweet nothingness, because as the lover and the beloved do, or you can even have quarrels with that God. You can chastise that God. Mahadevi Akka does that. Antal does that. Mirabai does that. That what are you doing? You know nothing. They are chastising the God. They are scolding the God because they are not thinking about that omniscient, omnipotent, absolute power. They are talking about love. So this is the central feature of any bhakti sect, any bhaktar sant, that the judgmental omniscient God becomes the intimate, lovable God. That is one. And from that follows many points. The second point becomes that as in an institutionalized religion, you have rituals, you have formalities, you have ways of worshipping or praying, established routes to connect with your God, that absolute power, that supreme being. You have some established routes, well traversed, dictated by scriptures, dictated by the middlemen who are kind of connecting you with your God. They are working as translators. God is not speaking to you directly. God's words would be translated by the middlemen, and your words, your prayers, would be transmitted to God, the Supreme Lord, through these people, through these institutions, through these rituals, through these uh, prescribed paths. But the bhakts and sons, they can do anything they like. They listen to only their heart because they're talking about heart's religion, not the institutionalized structural religion. That is the second important feature. The third important feature of bhakti is the bhakts are not, it comes from the second point, that bhakts and sons, they are not focused on the scriptures. Whatever is written, they are not focused on that. Kabir Sahib says, मसी कागद छुयो नहीं, कलम गई नहीं हाथ, चारी जुग के महात्म कबीरा मुख ही जनाए बात. So Kavi Sahib is saying here that I have not in my life touched ink, pen or paper ever. And now he does some kind of makes a joke. Chari Juk ke Mahatam Kabira. I am the sage of the four yugas, Satya Treta Dapur. I am the sage and I only speak. I don't write. I don't read. I only depend on the verbal communication. That is one important feature of bhakti across the sectarian boundaries, across the ideological inclinations of the bhakts and sons. They are always speaking. They are not prescribing paths based on the written scriptures. So, against the written prescribed texts, they are offering their heartfelt words because it's a heart's religion. So, they are offering their heartfelt prayers or emotions as their worship to the divine. And this is one curious case. When they are speaking, they are not speaking in Sanskrit. Mostly. There are some exceptions, but they are mostly speaking in the Bhasha languages like Bangla, Marathi, Telugu, Punjabi, Audhi, Maithili, Khadiboli. These languages are being used by the bhakts and sons to transmit their messages, their feelings rather. Why? Because it's very common sense thing. Kabir Sahib says, Sanskrit kupjal kabira bhasa bahta need. So Sanskrit is a well guarded, well protected, a very good water, but it's from a well. Whereas Kabir is using the bhasha, Braj bhasha or Khadiboli or the Sadhu language, whatever he is using, he is taking that cue from the common masses, from the common people. See, bhakti kind of democratizes the world of religion for the common population. Because these songs, these poems, their words, sadhuvani, these things become available to all and sundry. Writing and written texts, manuscripts, were kind of very expensive in India, anywhere in the world, and in India also, because writing was a special skill that has to be attained, achieved. Paper was extremely expensive. Paper was not very easy to acquire. So was preparing ink. And you don't have, just imagine for a moment, you don't have any press. You don't have any press. So you cannot make hundreds of copies in just matter of days. You have one original manuscript and you have to meticulously copy from that manuscript to create another copy. You have to employ, say, 6 months of man hours to just have one text. So creating a library becomes a task for decades. Say, even with 100 books, if you are going to start a library, it will engage you for, say, 10 years and lakhs of rupees, because you have to employ scribes, you have to get those papers, and you also have to collect the original manuscripts. it might well be the case that who has got the manuscript, who is possessing the manuscript, he is not willing to share it with you. So you don't have easy access to the written word. It is only available to the elite, to a coterie of people who has those means, the scholastics means, and also the financial means to have a manuscript, a copy of manuscript, creating a copy, employing a scribe, etc., etc. But the common people, they can access Kabir's word or Chaitanya's word or Nanak's word or Mahadevi Akka's word or Narsi Mehta's word because these are being spoken directly to them. So they don't have to have lots of money. They don't have to have lots of resources to access those words of wisdom or those words of feelings. They are basically uh, having a feast of emotions, of songs, poems, dances. And this is very curious because all the bhakts and sons, just close your eyes for one moment and think, imagine any icon, any bhakt, sant, sadhu that you have read about or you just know, happen to know. Just think about any bhakt, sant, sadhu and you will see that you are imagining someone who is either dancing or singing or playing a character in a play. So they are not stationary. They are not sitting like a sage as we are used to see those munis and rishis. They are not in dhyan. They are actually dancing, singing. They are always in motion because if you are speaking, if you sing that, it becomes reachable, it reaches more people. And if you add musical instruments with it, it becomes more attractive. If you can add some dancing, some enactment, then it becomes more and more attractive. It can attract more and more people. So this is another characteristic of bhakti, that bhakti is not about writing, bhakti is about performance. And here, for us, there are some very learning points which we should take home from bhakti. If the phenomena of bhakti was not there, then we wouldn't have our bhashas. You look at any MIL, that is modern Indian language, like Bangla, Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, any modern Indian language, Odia, and you'll discover that towards the beginning of any language, there are poems and songs or gathas like ballads by the bhakts and bhakti icons. So we wouldn't have this language that we are speaking today, that we are enveloped with today in this beautiful country of ours. These languages were developed to a major part by the bhakts and sadhus. Many of them were illiterates, as Kabir says, and many others also. They were by profession cobblers, masons. Some were born in a so-called low class, very poor people sometimes. And also, there are some aristocrats. There is one Prime Minister, Basavanna, who is sitting beside one man, one Bachanka, from who is named as Dasi Maya. Dasi Maya means whose mother was a Dasi, a maid. So Basavanna and Dasi Maya, they are on the same level. Bhakti is such a force because it's the heart's religion. It does away with the middleman, does away with all the structures, does away with all the rituals that need resources, money, and it puts everyone on the same platform. Vasavanna Taksi. Be it a Brahmin, be it a Shudra, be an erudite scholar or a lay person, be it a man or a woman. You can think of Mirabai, Antat, Mahadevi Akka. In 12th century, in 14th century, 15th century, they are roaming this land all by themselves, alone. And because they are mad with the love for their God. Be it Giridhari, be it Chenna Mallikarjuna, that is Shiva, be it the Nirakar God, it can be any god or goddess. But that is not important. The important part is these people, these human beings, they are being empowered by their bhakti, their love to their gods and goddesses. They are becoming celebrated as spiritual icons because, in the first place, they are great poets, they are playwrights, they are dancers, singers, composers. So, bhakti opens up this horizon in the Indian subcontinent where a feast of colors, where a feast of art forms, a feast of poems and songs, and a feast of languages, actually, all these things become possible. That is one important thing about bhakti that we should remember. Basically, today's India wouldn't have been the same if the phenomenon of bhakti was not there. So, with this uh, brief discussion about bhakti and its roots, I'll now come to the second part. We cannot talk about all the bhakts and sons here, Mirabai, Tulsidas, Guru Nanak, etc. So we have to select one bhakt or sant, and as it's close to my home, so I'll talk about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and what does it entail to be Chaitanya. So that is the second part. But before moving on to that part, I'd like to ask if you have any questions regarding this part, the introduction of Bhakti. Nothing.
I just want a question. This very idea of bhakti, how is it possible to implement, reflect somewhere in the curriculum?
Yes. Actually, madam, if you are, that's a very wonderful question. I was trying to talk about that only when I said that bhakti opens up a horizon of new ideas in this subcontinent. Because without bhakti, we won't have the languages, the modern Indian languages, we won't have many art forms even. So if we are talking about art, if we are talking about literature, then we are actually talking about bhakti. If we go back to the history of that literature, that language literature, that art form, we'll go to bhakti. In my next part, I'll try to focus on some parts like that. And also the social it's Archana Roy, I think can you please say it, ma'am?
Yes. There's a question in modern times we see negative impact of bhakti. What is your idea about it?
Yes, bhakti cannot be negative. If you think about Kabir or Dadu or Ruidas, then we cannot have bhakti because bhakti is empowering human beings. See, I say in the second characteristic of bhakti that bhakti is not about, as it is not about a powerful, omniscient, omnipotent God, it is about an intimate God. So, who is a true bhakt? He or she cannot discriminate human beings. That has to be underlined, this point. Because if the same God is present in everyone's heart, it's a heart's religion, then how do you discriminate between the castes? How do you discriminate between the genders? How do you discriminate between the rich and the poor, the erudite and the layperson? That is the point. In fact, there is this famous Bijak of Kavi where he says, मोको कहाँ ढूंढो बंदे मैं तो तेरे पास मोको कहाँ ढूंढो बंदे मैं तो तेरे पास में ना मैं देवल ना मैं मस्जिद ना काबे कैलाश and this is going on and in the last two lines Kavi says खोजी हो तो तुरंत मिली हो हर सांसों के सांस so by that they are resisting the separatist efforts, the efforts that try to discriminate between men and women, that try to discriminate between the rich and the poor, between the scholars and the laypersons. They are trying to kind of put on a resistance against that discriminatory practice. That is where the second part comes. So I hope I'll be able to make it more clear in the next part of discussion. So if we continue from this thread, it is obvious by now that the bhakts don't discriminate, but there is discrimination. Where does this discrimination emanate from? From the societal structures, from the hierarchies of power. If you remember, the bhakts are talking about not about the hierarchy of power. Their God, even their God is not powerful. If you read Surdas's poems, Surdas's songs, you will see that, or even the Bengali Odia or Maithili Padavali about Krishna, Krishna's childhood, you will see that Krishna is recognized as the supreme God, absolute. But Krishna is stealing. Krishna is afraid of her mother after stealing. Krishna is being scolded by her mother and he cries. So the supreme God is imagined as the kid next block, as someone. Yes, I'll come to that after all. So Krishna is being imagined as someone who is just like another human being. If even your God is not something additional, something extra, something super, then how can you discriminate? You cannot. But the discriminations are there in the society, in the societal system. That's where the lunatics part comes. My title was The Lovers, the Lunatics. They're the same people. See, Michel Foucault the theoretician. Michel Foucault, when he talks about madness, uh, okay, there are very complicated things in that theoretical Foucault, but I'm not going into that. So madness is something which is there in the society. But the mad people, I think, if a mad person slaps you, you cannot, you usually don't try to prosecute him because you are aware that pagal hai. So he is not going by the rules that you follow, that we follow, that our society follows. So the mad persons have this degree of freedom. It's a blessing, kind of blessing in disguise. A madman, a mad woman can do anything he or she likes. That is considered as taboo in the society. That is not at all recommended by the powers that be. But nonetheless, these mad persons, they do as they like. They can do anything. They can just sit in the middle of the street and create a furor. They can create any hazards for anyone, and usually they are not prosecuted because we are aware that they don't go by our rules. Now, I'll ask you to kindly think for one moment the Bhakts and Sadhus, and you will realize that they employ this position of the mad person very intelligently. They are known as Pagal, Diwana, Mastana. Even their names are like that. Baiju Baura. Baura means Pagal. In Bengal, we have the Bauls. Baul means the same thing, the mad person. The Batul, who is not abiding the social rules. So, the Bhakts and sons, they are taking this position of the mad person. They are not going outside the society. They are not doing dhan and penance, sitting in a dense forest or in a cave somewhere in the Himalayas. They are among us. They are among us, but they are refusing to obey our rules. And when you accuse them, why are you doing this, Sadhu? They will answer perhaps in a poem or a song that why I can do this because I am mad. I am a madman, mad woman. मैं तो दर्द दीवानी. I am a diwana or diwani. So there is no point in scolding me. But that gives them the freedom to question and criticize the faults of the society. You get my point? The hierarchies, the discriminations, the inequalities that plague our society, it has always done that. To any human civilization, there are inequalities, always inbuilt inequalities. And the Bhakts and sons, they are posing as mad persons. They are questioning the society, and the society cannot prosecute them because they are mad. Then society has to rethink what are these faults, defects that these sadhus and sons are talking about. So it's not like any general Muni Rishi that we are talking about the bhakts and sadhus and sons. They make it a point, their life's mission, to talk about the inequalities in society, the injustices that is there in the society, societal structure. And as a metaphor, I can offer you this. they are not beyond this society. They are sitting on the fence. They are saying, okay, I don't come under your rules, your IPCs, and I'm sitting on the fence. I can jump fence anytime. I can go to the other side, but I'm just sitting because I want. And I'll talk about your defects. Do whatever you want. You can rectify your defects or you can continue with your defects. And people like me, Bhaks and Sadhus and sons, other people will come and they will be criticizing your society time and again. So when we think bhakti has a negative impact, we have to think about the impact that bhakti left on our minds. Because we rose above ourselves. We rose above ourselves and we became bigger, larger, greater than ourselves. When the bhakti waves came, it flooded the entire subcontinent, thousands of miles, thousands of years, millennia, and it has put some common sense into the hierarchical, discriminatory social structures, the powers that be. If you look at Chaitanya Dev was born into a Brahmin family. Okay, if you go by the caste system, he is not from a so-called lower class. He is from a Brahmin family. He was erudite, very scholarly. His father was also a scholar, Pandit. And then he goes to visit. He was a very brilliant, enthusiastic kind of a student. He married and established his own school, which was called the Chatushpathi of Tol, Pathshala. And then he went on a pilgrimage to do the final rites of her father, who passed away. So he went to Gaya in Bihar. And there he witnessed something, some miracles, some alaukik events occurred, and then he got transformed. Previous to this event, he was kind of uddhata. Uddhata means arrogant. He is often described as the arrogant Pandit. But here at Gaya, he got initiated. He came back. He came back to Bengal, Navadvip. Navadvip was his residential place at that time. So he came back, but he was proved unfit to carry any worldly activities. He couldn't teach anymore. He couldn't procure for his family anymore. He couldn't do the mundane things that he was used to do prior to that initiation period. Now he begins a practice which is known as Kirtan. Kirtana in various parts of India, there are variations of Kirtana. The Harikatha in the south, the Kirtan in the Gurudwaras, the Kirtan in Manipur, and also the Kirtan in Bengal. So Chaitanya Dev initiates that thing. And his Kirtan is a special kind of Kirtan. So it is called Sankirtan. Sankirtan, the etymology is Sampurna Kirtan, complete Kirtan, or Samyaka Kirtan, that is the proper Kirtan. Now, Sankirtana is very interesting because it cannot be done by yourself. We have said that bhakti is about an intimate, personal feeling, intimate God, my own heart, nothing to do with anyone else. But here it's a paradigmatic shift because Sankirtan becomes something which has to be done in a group. So you need a handful of people to do your practice. By that, you see, Chaitanya Dev basically widens the field. When you are performing Sankirtan, you are connecting with other people, other men and women from different parts of society. The same Kirtan is being attended by the then Prime Minister of Hussain Shahi Bengal and also a beggar. The same Kirtan is being uh, attended by men and women, rich and poor, everyone. And that practice still continues. And it is said that in the arena of Sankirtan, there is no discrimination, no caste, no class, nothing. No discrimination can be there in the arena of Sankirtan. So just imagine that Sultani Bengal, the medieval period, 15th, 16th century, the casteist societal structure, and Chaitanya Dev is initiating this. It can be called a revolution. If we talk in today's terms, it's kind of a revolution because everyone comes, gather around him, and they are being connected by this practice, which is spiritual. So you cannot call it political or social in the first place. But this spiritual practice of bhakti becomes a socially and politically missionary in the medieval Bengal region. And then it goes beyond the frontiers of Bengal. It goes to Manipur, it goes to Bihar, Jharkhand, it goes to Vrindavan, and now it has kind of reached everywhere internationally. I am not saying that this is very good or bad, but I am just trying to look at the impact what Chaitanya Dev initiated. But there is this dichotomy that Chaitanya Dev is not from the margins of the society. He is from a very high class. He is erudite, he is scholar, he has his own school, he is from the Brahmin background, but he is initiating this movement. Now, there are certain repercussions of this. And this comes especially from the powers that be. So it becomes political. It comes especially from the Brahmins, from the Brahmin Samajpatis, the elite Brahmins of the society. They are very afraid with this growing movement and they kind of try to sabotage the Sankirtan movement. After 1 or 1.5 years, Chaitanya Dev takes sannyas. He leaves his household and goes to Nilachal Puri Jagannath. Now, I would ask you to go back to the first section. I cannot show you the slide, obviously, but the first section where I say that another strand of bhakti's travel, is from the southernmost tip, Dravid Desh, to the southern part, that is Odisha. Why Chaitanya Dev is selecting Odisha as his final abode? He was in this world for 48 years. The first 24 years was spent in Bengal entirely. The next 24 years, he was based in Odisha, Jagannath Puri. Some of this period, he was traveling to southern India, to Bengal, to Vrindavan, Jharkhand, etc., etc. But most of this second period of his time, he was there at Nilachal, Jagannath. Now, this becomes very interesting because Odisha is like a gateway. Odisha is like the entrance from Bengal or the northern eastern part to southern India. Odisha is also part of the eastern India. So it becomes a confluence of cultures, a melting pot of various sects. It is said that Shankaracharya has come to, Adi Shankaracharya has come to Odisha. Sri Ramanuj has come to Odisha. Kabir Das has come to Odisha. Puri Jagannath, Guru Nanak, anyone, Madhacharya and his Basrai, Shankar Dev, everyone visited Odisha, and Odisha became a cosmopolitan culture. It was revolving around Lord Jagannath, of course, and Lord Jagannath is important for even the Buddhists and the Jainas for separate reasons. For the Shaivas, Vaishnavas, Shaktas, Jagannath becomes important. My submission is Chaitanya Dev was very much aware of that fact that Jagannath Puri, by its location and by its cultural cosmopolitanism, is like a micro Indian uh, prototype. And everyone from all parts of India, from all sects, from all languages, they are in this place. And that becomes the criteria for selection of Chaitanya, selection of Jagannath Puri as a final abode for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is my submission. And many things started from here, but we are, I think, running short of time. So my last point that I want to make here today is bhakti, if it is about arrogance, if it is about ego, if it is about inequality and discrimination, then it is not bhakti. By definition, bhakti cannot be egotistic. You have to surrender yourself to your beloved as a lover does. And in that love, you become lunacy, moonstruck, as it is said in English. Moonstruck. Chandrahat, जैसे हिंदी में कहा जाता है. Lunacy comes from the word moon. So, in that love, you become must, you become दीवाना. आप अपने को खो देते हो. जब आप अपने को खो देते हो, when you lose yourself, then how can you be insensitive to the other? You are surrendering yourself to the other, to your God, and by that, to all the human beings who are created by that same God and whose hearts, at whose hearts God is there. So if you are respectful to the Lord who is sitting inside your heart, then how can be you respectful to other people in whose hearts God is also there? That is the most important contribution of bhakti to India, its society, its culture, its art form. I didn't get the time to talk about the art forms today, but architecture, iconography, painting, so much to talk about. But bhakti is like that ocean. You can take some drops, but that doesn't dry up the ocean. You cannot exhaust the ocean. Historically, emotionally, sociologically, bhakti becomes one important binding thread of Bharat. India, this place, this beautiful land of ours. Thank you. Thank you for bearing with me. I don't know whether it will be in your service or not. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Dr. Bose.
Any question? I have some, after listening to it, it was an excellent session, I should say. I was just trying to reflect on, you are telling about the bhakti, and then also, like, if you respect, if all of us think that the God, Bhagavan is inside us. So, that's how we can respect another person. If we really think from that side, I think uh, someone who is a believer of God or who trusts on God, he or she should be the one who also have to think about love. I mean, love only can bind everything. And then whatever is happening in the world, like the fighting, and then also a lot of, we all know the situation, war, all these things are happening, conflict. So somewhere I think if we all respect God, God we see as a love, I think then there won't be such kind of issue. That is what I just take away from you. Only love can bind, can bring peace. That is what I take away from your, in this, what is happening in the society now, contemporary society. So what is your reflection? I think others also will.
Shall I respond now, ma'am?
Yes. Huh.
Actually, you have said the very gist of my submission today. Basically, even if you are an atheist, you don't believe in God, you cannot disrespect others.
Mhm. Yes.
This entire thing we are doing, you are teaching science, I am teaching literature, someone else is teaching, say, sociology. But what are we doing? We are talking about our relationship with this world. My relationship with proton and electron, or my relationship with my neighbor. This is all about relationship, nothing else. And I think these verbs and sons and Sufis, what they are doing actually, they are giving us a wonderful example how how selfless that relationship can be. If you are selfish, you cannot even understand your science, your electrons and protons. You have to give respect to your electron to understand it. Only then the electron will be respectful to you if it can think. So that same thing applies to your neighbor. If you are not respectful to her, how can you expect respect? Actually, if I put it, I didn't want to become too theoretical, didn't want to use any jargon in today's submission because people from all the disciplines are here. So it would be kind of troublemaking, nothing else. So, but if I can just take a break from that stance, then I can say this is about the hierarchy of power being resisted with the efficacy of love. Time and again, the Bhakts are saying. There is a wonderful song by Rabindranath Tagore who says that আমায় তাই তোমার আনন্দ আমার পর, I am saying it in Bangla, I translate. তাই তোমার আনন্দ আমার পর, আমি তাই তুমি তাই এসেছো নিচে, আমায় নইলে ত্রিভুবনেশ্বর, তোমার প্রেম হতো যে নিচে। That is like a challenge put to the God. What does it say? Briefly, rough translation, that you may be the Lord of these three universes. Okay, I accept. But you have to come down to me, because you don't exist if I don't love you. So they are challenging power, authority, power, hierarchy with love, nothing else but love. There is one beautiful doha which comes to my mind. I cannot remember it word by word, but it says, इतना आसान नहीं है, बहुत मुश्किल है सावरे की घर जाना. This is not the exact words, but it does mean you cannot go so easily to your beloved's house. You have to cut your head. You have to sever your head, take it in your hand and offer it to him. So that is ego. You have to cut your ego. Only then you can expect love. I think that is the teaching. That is the teaching that we can transmit in your classes and even beyond our classes.
Thank you. Thank you once again on behalf of all the participants. This is a wonderful session, different from our own subject discipline area. So it is really nice to listen to you. And I hope you will share your, PPT with us, so that I can share with them if I think we all want to read on it. So thank you once again, and kindly send. I will write to you. I will write to you what else to be done. Thank you. Thank you once again, Dr. Bose. Thank you. Namaste. Namaste. So let's take a break for another half an hour, and